It's the dream of every cricketer, the ultimate glory. Few manage to keep their date with destiny. But for many, it's been heartbreaks and a cross to bear. The Holy Grail is here in India. I'm Rupha Ramani, and Firstpost brings you the ringside view. We bring you the Cup of Dreams. Cricket World Cup coverage like never before.
It's over! He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net.
Nice one.
Straight down the middle. So a good performance.
I'm Rupha Ramani and welcome to Firstpost. Now I've taken a bit of a pit stop on the way back from Dharamsala, so we're still on the road before we head back to base. So let's get started. It's been a fantastic weekend for sporting records, some defeated and some still kept intact. You witnessed a confident Indian cricket team at the World Cup, overturning a 20-year-old record. They finally beat New Zealand in an ODI World Cup, and that happened in the most gorgeous of settings in Dharamsala. Over at another World Cup, one team couldn't quite overcome its ghosts. England went down fighting to a relentless South Africa at the Rugby World Cup to continue its losing streak to the Springboks. And over at Formula One, Max Verstappen continues to break records, becoming the first to win the US Grand Prix a consecutive third time. All that and more heading your way. But first, let's take a look at the headlines from around the world of sports in Sports 360. Legendary India spinner Bishan Singh Bedi no more. He played 67 tests for India between 1967 and 1979 and picked up 266 wickets. He also played a key role in India's first ODI win in 1974. Bishan Singh was 77 years old. Fast bowler Bryden Carse joins England World Cup squad. Carse has replaced injured Reece Topley, who fractured his index finger on his bowling hand during Saturday's match against South Africa. Carse made his debut in 2021. Since then, he's played 12 one-day internationals and 3 T20s for England. Over in tennis, Novak Djokovic and Iga Swiatek all set to begin their 2024 campaigns in Perth for the Mixed Teams United Cup on Monday. Serbia will face the Czech Republic and China. Top seeds Poland will meet Spain and a yet-to-be-determined country. The event, a precursor to the Australian Open, will take place from the 29th of December to the 7th of January. Ben Shelton wins his first ATP Tour title. Shelton defeated Russian Aslan Karatsev 7-5, 6-1 at the Japan Open in Tokyo. Shelton will reach a career high of 15 when the new rankings are released on Monday. And India's Anirban Lahiri, Bryson DeChambeau lead the Crushers to the LIV Golf Team Championship. Lahiri fired a 7 under 65 for Crushers. Lahiri had 5 birdies and an eagle at Doral in the 4-player total stroke team final. All right, we'll start with cricket. Now, Dharamsala witnessed a historic moment in Indian cricket, and the setting couldn't have been more perfect. The picturesque mountains was the ideal backdrop for a record to be broken. India finally overcame the 20-year-old jinx of losing to New Zealand in ODI World Cups. Dharamsala came into the fold as a venue to host international matches only as recently as 2013. It only hosted 8 one-day matches, including the one last night, of course, and it's quite a newbie in this circle. But the quaint, peaceful city of Dharamsala came alive over the weekend. One man has clearly captured the imagination of people in this small city, and that's what I found out over the weekend. We are at beautiful, gorgeous, stunning, panoramic. I'm at a loss for words. We are in Dharamsala. The drive up to this city was so breathtaking. And you know you're higher up in the mountains because there's just a difference in the air here. It's just crisper, there's a little bit of chillness, the sun is harsh, and there's beautiful snow-capped mountains behind me. The walk, it was quite a steep walk up to this point for us. And it's a steep challenge for both the teams facing off at this beautiful venue, India versus New Zealand. I'm Rupha Ramani and you're watching the Cup of Dreams here on Firstpost. Now, when you're high up in the mountains, it's cold here, there's a nip in the air, there's a chilly breeze always blowing. You need something hot, something warm to kickstart your day. Just like a cup of chai or tea to help energize you and get you ready for the day. That's what Virat Kohli is to the top order of the Indian batting lineup. He's that core element that helps kickstart the Indian innings. Now, that 100 against Bangladesh was special. You also heard about KL Rahul wanting him to get that 100, resonating what probably the entire team wanted as well, stopping him from taking a single and saying, we want you to score that 100. And that 100 was special because it shattered a lot of records. It's getting him closer to Sachin Tendulkar's ODI record of the number of hundreds. He's the first player to score 1,500 runs in an ICC limited overs event while chasing alone. We know how Virat enjoys a good run chase, enjoys the pressure and a new challenge every single time he steps onto the field. He's the fastest to 26,000 international runs. That's incredible. And that's what he means really to that Indian batting lineup. Someone to kickstart it all. And he loves Dharamsala. He loves the city. And why not? It holds a special place in his heart as well as in his career. He's the Indian with the top individual score right here. So no wonder when I walked not just past these amazing, beautiful tea leaves that's surrounding me and also into the city, asking who your favorite cricketer is and who do you enjoy watching bat. There was just one name on everyone's lips.
We love you, Virat.
Virat Kohli, King Kohli.
All the way through India.
So Virat Kohli is like somebody whom I would put in my favorite cricketers category. He is someone whom I believe is a legend of the game, stands apart from his peers by a mile.
I don't think you can go past someone like from non-Australian teams, Kohli. He captures your imagination, as simple as that, and speaks his own mind like Australians do, which I think is really important.
He is playing well, he's doing well all over the world. He's a fantastic player.
I bought two t-shirts yesterday for my grandchildren with Virat on the back. Oh, he's just a great player. He's a great player. Yeah. And I think he's good for the game.
He's just one shy of equaling Sachin Tendulkar's mammoth record of 49 ODI centuries. Fell woefully short of achieving that last night, but the hunt is delightfully on and the world is waiting with bated breath. Now, our journey to these cities, apart from showcasing the essence, flavor and story of the city, is get you some interesting stories of the people who make the sport what it is. You, the fans. We found some crazy fans in Dharamsala too, for whom cricket is more than just a sport.
I remember 1983 World Cup final and in the Lords, and I went to the Lords to watch final live match. And when Kapil Dev going to catch for Vivian Richard, and I was right behind the Kapil Dev. That was my best memories. And then since all night we having parties from Lords to South Hall, and we had an all-night party. Youth celebration.
And
Thank
can't
you.
forget that big
We never forget that World Cup.
What is it that you love about the sport? What is it that makes you travel from USA and come here?
Yeah, because as being Indian, we love cricket, right? If we get a chance to see the live game, nothing like that. Otherwise, you can watch on TV also. But they're not that fun as much you see in person the game.
If I had to ask you what sort of, apart from the love for the game, is it difficult to keep traveling and coming at this point to...
I mean, it is very tough. Being senior, see this game. It's good if you are young, at that time see all the game, it makes sense. But for us, it's kind of a little hard also. Game and sightseeing is tough.
But still you do it?
Yeah, so our friends, they are all fond of cricket. Basically, when we came to Washington in 1965, there was no cricket. So we got the equipment imported from Bombay by sea or by air to Washington, and then we used to play in the Washington Monument game. And there were people from World Bank and others. We formed a team like that, and then we go to different places in USA to play cricket.
Now, a Cricket World Cup in India will always be dominated by Indian cricket fans. But there were so many who flew in from different parts of the world. Now, while meeting fans, we also bumped into not a fan, but family of the New Zealand cricket team who were thrilled to be witnessing a cricket match in the very beautiful Dharamsala. What do you feel about the cricket here in India compared to cricket back in New Zealand? What's the difference?
Oh my gosh, this is crazy. They're just so passionate. It's amazing. It's so good to be a part of it. Just seeing the loyalty and how much they love their team. Mark Chapman.
Nice.
He's my son-in-law. Yeah. So we've come all the way to support the Black Caps and Mark.
That is so cool. So tell us more about being a part of the New Zealand. Instead of the family guy.
No.
He's like, you fell for it.
That'll do. That'll do. I've got a beautiful daughter who's married to Mark.
In fact, the families of both the teams have been here, and while New Zealand is staying back here for its next game in the weekend that's coming up, the Indian team with the families have decided to stay back a couple of days to enjoy the beauty of the place, and much deserved after the victory, before hitting the road once again to head to Lucknow for their next encounter, where we will of course be there to get you all the ringside view of that city too. Now, the one aspect of course that hasn't gone down well with a lot of the teams in particular who have played here in Dharamsala has been the ground conditions. The patchy outfield has been a cause of concern for all sides. It's made it difficult for diving and going that extra mile to stop runs in fear of injuries. Now, I spoke to the HPCA director Sanjay Sharma about that and more. A city like Dharamsala, it's so beautiful, it's such a picturesque venue. Would you reckon it's the perfect setting for a cricket tournament like the World Cup?
Yeah, definitely. This is one of the most picturesque stadium with the beautiful people of Himachal Pradesh and the backdrop of Dharadhar. It gives the immense pleasure to the spectators as well as to the players.
There was a lot of issues and concerns that came with the outfield, and though the teams have enjoyed playing here, you had a fantastic match with South Africa and Netherlands. That was a crowd puller, and there was a lot of interest and generated from that. But just the concern of the outfield, how have you tackled that, and how have you sort of worked around that going forward?
It was earlier, it was a question from the ICC curator, and it was definitely, there were some problem during the first game. But after that, every day outfield is improving, and you will see the result of outfield in coming game.
The World Cup juggernaut of course continues. Bangladesh and South Africa get ready to face off tomorrow at the Wankhede. But let's move on to yet another World Cup that's underway in another sport, the 2023 Rugby World Cup. The final is going to take place on the 29th of October between New Zealand and South Africa. And before we get to that, let's get down to how this sport came to be and shot to popularity. Football will have to take some credit for this sport and the discovery of rugby itself. Now, we have to go back to 1823. The name of the discipline comes from a school in England called the Rugby School. And the game was discovered by William Webb Ellis during a school football match. Ellis picked up the ball and charged towards the opponent's goal. He refused to conform to the norms of football, that is just kicking the ball. He picked up the ball in his hands instead and ran. Now, this story has little evidence but is widely accepted, so much so that the Rugby World Cup now is named as the William Webb Ellis Trophy. However, folk football was played from the 14th and 15th centuries. There were no clear defined rules for teams. Most of them would be played amongst communities from different villages, and that continued right until the 19th century. That included two styles of playing, one where of course the game was played with your feet, the second where the ball would be picked up and carried. It was violent and brutal to the extent that they would result in deaths. Broken limbs, fractured legs were not uncommon. So although the game wasn't called rugby back then, it has a rich and an exciting history. So the rule of ball being picked up by the hand was being played long before even the Webb's anecdote came over. Over the years, of course, the discipline's popularity grew. Here's how the sport took shape over the last many years. The Rugby Football Union, or the RFU, was founded in 1871. This was the sport's main governing body. It preceded what is today known as World Rugby. The first international match was played between England and Scotland in the very same year, and Scotland was the winner of that inaugural match. The first ever World Cup was held years later. It was co-hosted by Australia and New Zealand were big winners. 8 years later, 1995, it was recognized as a professional sport, a big move for rugby. Now let's shift focus to New Zealand, the first World Cup winners, who are the finalists of the 2023 edition. They are three-time champions and will meet defending champions South Africa. The two sides over the years have turned out to be two of the most successful countries in rugby. The South African side is known as the Springboks. Meanwhile, New Zealand's team is called the All Blacks. Now, we all know of the iconic rivalries in sports. When it comes to rugby, it's down to these two giants, the All Blacks and the Springboks. Since 1921, they have set up multiple nail-biting clashes. Both the sides have produced legendary players, be it Jonah Lomu for New Zealand or Francois Pienaar for South Africa. They are some of the iconic figures. Now, just to establish how symbolic this face-off between New Zealand and South Africa in this 2023 final is, we need to talk about two editions. One, the 1995 Rugby World Cup was a historic moment for the Springboks. They were hosting the tournament and emerged victorious. Nelson Mandela wore the Springboks jersey, and that symbolized the country's unity after the apartheid regime. Contrastingly, the All Blacks won the 2011 World Cup, which ended a 24-year-long winless streak for them. Richie McCaw helmed New Zealand's victory against France. Their consistent success over the years have made them a messiah in rugby. For rugby fans, the 2023 World Cup final between the two teams seems like quite the fitting encounter. Now let's switch focus to Formula One. Now you can guess what we're going to talk about today. Max Verstappen is going places. He won his 50th career race at the US Grand Prix this weekend. Verstappen really fought hard for this one. After all, this was one of his only third consecutive victory at this very event. Despite starting sixth, he reached the race line first. Lewis Hamilton won the race second, but was disqualified after checks were made post the race. Now let's break down all three of them at the circuit of the Americas for you. The 2021 victory was his first US Grand Prix win. The event witnessed a spectacular duel that saw Verstappen edge past Lewis Hamilton in the final few laps. Hamilton had started from the pole position but lost the lead to Max, who started second. Red Bull managed to get two podium finishes thanks to Sergio Perez. Max eventually went on to win the Formula One World Championship that year. In 2022, once again, the Max versus Lewis competition came under spotlight once more. Lewis was starting the race from the fifth spot and Verstappen was positioned at pole. But for Max, this race was a tribute to Dietrich Mateschitz. He was Red Bull's co-founder and had passed away just 2 days before that race. Starting from the pole, Verstappen blazed through the tracks, much like Formula One greats Michael Schumacher, who dominated the 2004 season, and Sebastian Vettel, whose performance got him the top of the points table in 2013. It was Verstappen who celebrated his most prosperous season in 2022. And now, his latest exploit at the same venue seems no surprise to us all at all. This time, however, his biggest rival, Lewis Hamilton, was unable to finish because he got regretfully disqualified due to a technical breach, as we mentioned. With this win, Verstappen is now part of elite racers like Alain Prost and Sebastian Vettel, who have 50 race victories to boast of. In such a short career span, that's incredible. Now, after the US Grand Prix, his total points stand at 466. That's the most amount of points he's had in a year ever secured. In 2022, his aggregate was 454. As he continues to break his own records and reaches new sensational feats, it also appears that his biggest rival is himself. At just 26, he's doing wonders and doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon. Now that's all we have time for on the show, but before we leave, as always, we end on a very positive note called the last serve, and this is something a little special. Now, we've seen couples visit the Taj Mahal here in India and cricketers even proposing here, a true symbol of love. No wonder an Aussie cricketer and his family were equally enamored. That's all we have time for. Thank you so much for watching another edition of First Sports. We'll of course see you again tomorrow, and as always, our coverage of the Cup of Dreams continues here on First Post. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.